I want to welcome everybody here to the Black History event. Give yourselves a hand. I'm C. Michael Bray, one of the instructors here. I teach in the entertainment business. I'm also a CEO of Hitman Records. You may have heard of Hitman Records. We've put out Little Richard from 1970, The Temptations, Dennis Edwards, Melba Moore. We were on the charts for this Christmas. We made number 17 on the charts, so that was kind of cool. And Johnny Paycheck. So anyway, without further ado, I am so excited because we have two incredible. I want to call them celebrities. They probably will beat me up on that one, but they're alumni here at LA Film School. So I am going to introduce them. I'm going to read their bio right now. So Bruce Gordon, he is a director, writer, producer. He was recognized at 2014 at the Cannes Film Festival, Short Film Corner, and get this, his film is whole nother level. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that. It is available on Amazon Prime Video as well as Roku and other digital platforms. He has a ton of he was selected in several film festivals, which is very exciting. I'll just name a few. The Jagran Film Festival in India, 2013. This is interesting. 2013 Hollywood and Vine Film Festival. He won 2 awards: Best Visual Effects in Short Film and Best Music in Short Film. By the way, he's also in his bio. I recognize that he is also a musician. Is that so? That I was kind of blown away by that. So he has a company as well. Feel free to write this down. It is www. I hope he doesn't mind me giving away his website, but BruceGordonMedia.com. He is the CEO, director, of course, screenwriter, producer. He's also a voice actor. It's pretty interesting, and editor and songwriter. So his films include original songs, music productions, and the soundtrack. And his company has multiple feature film projects already in various stages of development. So he hails from Detroit, which is cool. Great R&B music, by the way. MC Breed, by the way, Hitman, we put out his last album before he died. So I don't know if you guys know MC Breed. I feel like a dinosaur right now by mentioning that. But he had a hit song with Tupac, and he had there was a couple of other big hit songs he had. So real quick about his core services, I just want to kind of highlight it: writing, directing, producing, editing, post-production, design, camera, lighting. Lighting is key. Setups, screenwriting, promo, marketing, copywriting, production, sound. The list goes on and on and on. Also, visual storytelling for advertising. So I could go on and on, but I would definitely want him to expand a little bit more on the bio. It is amazing. To our next guest, Angela Faulkner. Yes, she hails from where I'm from, New York City. She hails from Brooklyn. And I'm from Harlem, so yeah, we're kind of like neighbors in the borough. Okay, so she's an Emmy Award-nominated dialogue editor. Recent works include What We Do in the Shadows and Duncanville. Now, I pulled up her IMDb credits too, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to name some of the ones that I was it's so many. This list goes on and on. I want to say it's over 70 credits in IMDb. But just some of the ones that I liked. Of course, I like a lot of these movies, but Minions, Jurassic World, sound editor, trailer, Furious 7, Seventh Son, Dumb and Dumber 2, I believe it is. Dracula Untold, amazing movie. You did the sound editing trailer for that one. Expendables 3. Lucy, love that movie. I know you enjoyed that one. Sound editor, trailer, 47 Ronin, love that movie. Lone Survivor and Riddick, just to name a few. So feel free, guys, to pull both of their IMDb credits. I encourage the students to make sure that you're always working and always crediting your works in IMDb. So Also, she graduated first from RIT. That's I can't say that's Ivy League, but it's up there. Rochester Institute of Technology. You said third. It's ranked third in the nation. So she has a bachelor's in arts in visual media and associate in science and advertising photography. This is pretty interesting. She spent 1 year in Australia. This is interesting. Does that mean, I know you have a New York accent like me when it comes out, but does that mean that you also have a Australian accent? Australian mixed with New York, that's amazing. But watch this, guys. She also learned the art of Taekwondo, so be careful. So she was there 1 year learning that. That's pretty impressive. That's a movie. You should do a movie in your life. And then she traveled back to the States and back to LA, and that's where she enrolled at LA Film School. And so let's give our guests a hand, and I'd like to call them up. All right. This is exciting, especially being African American. It is, I can't tell you guys how exciting and this is to be part of this. I would like to start with the first question. It's pretty interesting. You kind of break the ice here starting off, but just name me, if you had to name me three of your all-time favorite film, three films of all time, just off the top. Both of you guys, yeah.
Inception is one. Let's see, Rise of the Titans, I think I can't remember the name. And that's really hard to do.
It is hard.
Oh, man. Those are the two right now.
Right.
Remember the Titans. Oh, my God, that's what it's called.
That's it, yeah.
Remember the Titans, Inception, because the sound was amazing, and I can't think of a third one.
Wow. Okay, so I have to ask you a question. This is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
When you go to the movies, which I'm sure you do,
yeah,
is it hard for you to sit in there if it's a film that you didn't work on to just really enjoy it?
Sometimes. Sometimes, because a lot of the times it depends on the theater too.
Right.
I can't really knock a movie if the theater can't present the sound right.
So whoever you're with, you probably drive them.
No, I keep my mouth shut.
Okay.
No, I learned not to do that.
Okay.
But if I'm at home, I'll nitpick it.
And last question is, when the credits roll, you're probably the last one.
I stay, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't get up. No.
Question: how many of you guys stayed to the very end?
Nice.
That's good. That's
Good
very
job.
good. Very good. All right. Same question to you.
Okay. There's so many films because I like different genres, but I'll just pick three out. The first one is going to sound like a cliche, but it's the truth. Star Wars Episode 4.
Ooh.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That movie I've probably seen.
I like Star Wars too.
The whole thing or parts of it probably over 300 times.
300.
Not for like 40 years. So
Yeah, right.
It's the type of movie where for screenwriting, which
Yes.
is my focus.
Right.
Everything starts with the story.
Yeah.
In the beginning with the word,
Yes.
The story, the archetypes with the characters, the plot development, everything is just textbook, literally. It's like, so studying how it was done, it goes all the way into things like The Hero's Journey with Joseph Campbell. It's very, very deep story-wise, and then also, the visuals. Something that I'm still studying,
Wow.
So, I have it on my hard drive, and I'm constantly going back to look at things and tweak my own stories based on how that was done. So that's why I say it sounds kind of corny, because everybody will say it's Star Wars, but I mean it.
That's interesting, guys, that he said, so he's studying film, what I mean? He never, and so, what's that old phrase? There's nothing new under the sun. So I bet you guys thought that Michael Jackson created the moonwalk. Is that correct? Anybody here believes that he's a creator of that?
Yeah.
There is a gentleman before him. Pull it up on
There is.
YouTube, because you guys are YouTube savvy. Is that correct? Pull it up. There's a gentleman, and you will fall out. He created the moonwalk, and you guys will be shocked. But there's
That's where
something.
he got it from.
What's that?
That's-
Jeffrey Daniels.
Yes. And so I'm making a point, and that's, you're able, you always have to study your craft. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That being said, I guess I'll start with you first. Since, how did you start in this game, like in your industry? Like, how did you start?
Well, for film, I didn't start with film. I started with music when I was a high school teenager, maybe 15, 16. Everybody in Detroit was either played music or you played sports or something like that. So I did music. I played keyboards. We had a band. I used to go door to door knocking, asking people, "Do you need a band for like a wedding reception?" Or we played at proms for high schools, and so that's what I was first doing, was just playing music. So then when I moved out here from Detroit around the age of 19, I started kind of just, I got into an internship. I went to UCLA, that's where I graduated from after like 4 universities. I graduated from UCLA, Northridge to Michigan State and Wayne State, Detroit.
Oh, wow.
But, when I graduated from UCLA, between Northridge and UCLA that summer, I stumbled into an internship at Columbia Pictures, which was out at what they call the Burbank Studios in those days, out in Burbank. That's the Warner Brothers lot. In those days, Warner Brothers and Columbia Pictures shared the same lot. So during that summer, I spent a week in the story department, promotion, publicity, sales, and music. And there was one other, I can't remember now, but there was 6 departments. And it just opened my eyes up that, the stuff I used to see on TV or going to the movies for fun was like this whole other business, and music was part of it too. So eventually I ended up doing a video with Prince. A friend of mine, long story short, he went to Juilliard, he knew Branford Marsalis, yada, yada, yada. He was hanging out with Sting one day, yada, yada, yada. So then he got a call to get some horn players to be in this Prince video for the second song from the Batman soundtrack, the Tim Burton Batman.
Right.
See, that's a good
So-
movie.
It was called Party Man, and so my friend kind of got me in on it. Even though I'm not a horn player, they needed horn players. I play keyboard, but we were just kind of lip syncing anyway. So I got in, and watching them do that video for 2 days at the Culver Studios, it just exploded in my head, because
That's where the light bulb went up.
it went off. It was like, okay, because I saw the technicians, I saw the director, I saw the lighting, the gaffer, and I was like, wow, I was amazed watching this process. So I did a lot of jobs in the industry, but mostly like, accounting for Aaron Spelling Productions or technical stuff or whatever, subtitles, but I never was able to make a film of my own. And then when I tried to do that on my own with my friends, you're shooting, you start at 11 when the restaurant closes down and lets you use the location. And then all your friends get tired around 1 or 2 in the morning and leave. So now you're stuck there doing the camera, and you're holding the boom, and you're trying to direct. So I said, no, this is not gonna work. So I started looking for film schools.
Sure.
And, it's like trying to get in UCLA, USC, AFI. Those is like, you have to have portfolios. You already gotta be good before you start.
Right.
And they only let people in once a year. And then I saw LA Film School and said, wow, every month they let people in. You don't have to have a portfolio. I'm going. So I just signed up. I didn't even do the tour thing they always do. I just said, I'm in, I'm signed up. And then I came to school here, and so
That's amazing. You signed up and you didn't even do the tour.
I didn't need a tour.
Because you knew what you wanted.
I knew what I wanted.
That's amazing.
I was hungry, so I just came and got it.
I want to make a point, what you were also saying, into internships. How many of you guys have already had an internship already? Show of hands. 2, wait, 3 of you guys. And the rest, you haven't, I guess you guys are waiting, or you're trying to set it up, I guess.
It's hard.
It's hard. Okay. So, I have to tell you, years ago, before all of us, you guys were born, right? This is when I was in college, like ancient, 1981, right? I had to force myself to, they didn't have it. So, like, I basically made several phone calls to, actually, I ended up having an internship with Saatchi & Saatchi, an advertising agency, right? So I made several calls. I had to do it. I had to initiate it myself, because they didn't have it. It didn't exist. So there's something to learn. I love what he said that, because opportunities come from internships. So I'm making a point, and I'm sure he's going to add to it. Don't wait till the last day you're about to graduate, right? To seek out an internship.
Well, internships nowadays, you have to be a student because you have to be able to get college credit.
Correct.
They're no longer able to hire interns without paying them. Mine was a paid internship, so it wasn't been a problem. But
Right.
nowadays,
Right.
they only will do internships if you're in school, and that's the way to get in, especially if your father or uncle or cousin isn't in the business,
Right.
Good
that's
luck.
how you get in, both to learn how the game works and to be known by the people who are the players of the game. So I urge everybody to get an internship like tomorrow if you can, because while you can get the course credits, you're learning on the job, you're getting the credit for the class anyway.
Correct.
You're meeting people and you're getting your foot in the door so that, later, somebody might, want to hire you.
Correct. Angela.
Angelina.
Angelina. Oh, like
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie.
Oh my God.
Do you hear that a lot?
Thank you.
That's amazing because both of you guys, well, I don't know if she knows it, but you're
Oh, martial arts.
Taekwondo. So tell us how you started.
It's actually really similar to him. I had a whole life before coming to the LA Film School. I went to school in Rochester, New York for a completely different thing. Did the whole 4 years and, the normal, you're out of high school, go to college, graduate and go work. So that's what I did. Realized I don't want to do that. I liked photography and print management, basically like this sign and everything. I would design them and print them and like ship them. So that was my job way back in the day. But I realized that's not really what I like. I played the cello and a few other instruments and realized I should be doing something in music. So of course, like everyone else, I was like, I'm gonna be a DJ and come to school for it. I'm not gonna be a DJ, but but that's what it started. And I came and did a tour here. I actually fell in love with the school, but I was petrified to come up here because I'm from San Diego. I was born in Brooklyn, but I was raised in San Diego, so I have a Mexican accent just because I'm Mexican Dominican. So I learned Spanish, then learned English. So I did the tour coming from San Diego. So I was like, I don't know if I should come all the way up here. I have to uproot my family to come to school here. Well, Reason, which I don't know if any of you know, but if you don't, then I don't know what you're doing. But she's kind of hard to miss, right? She kind of talked me into it. We talked each other into it, basically, and I commuted for 4 months from San Diego to here until I found a spot because I figured this was where I wanted to be. I took one film sound class because in 2011 into 2012, there was only one film sound class. I don't know if there's more now, but back then it was one. It was intro to film sound, and that was it. There was no other class. You couldn't take 3, 4, 5 steps into post-production. It was just the intro, because back then the school was very much a music school, which is cool. I was down. I was here for it. But that's when the light bulb switched for me. I said, film sound is where I want to be. It's where I want to work. I don't have to create anything because I'm not a creator. I'm not a content creator. I like to fix problems. So movie people come to me, I'm like, fix it, fix the sound, That's what I like to do because even though it's a creative process, I don't have to come up with the idea. Right. I'm not gonna lie, I really am not good at it. I can't be there and write a whole story. I'd be like, I'm over it, toss it, But if someone comes at me with a story and I can help bring it to another level, that's where I want to be. So I think finding that film sound class is what really changed my mind, and it changed my life. And then that's why I stuck around here.
Right. It's interesting that music was already in your
blood. I grew up with it, yeah.
And so you're still doing it in
yeah.
film. I mean, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. That's one thing. If you do play an instrument and people are like, oh, that's not useful in movies and stuff, I'm like, if you don't know how to keep a rhythm, how can you cut movies? Right. Movies have a rhythm. They have a start, middle, end. They have a detour sometimes, but you need to know how to bring that back. If you don't know music very well to tie it all in, you can't time it. You can't feel the snap. You can't feel, even with music videos, you can tell a good music video from a bad one if their edits are not on time. Right. If you don't have that internal clock, right. It's really hard.
Right.
So everything's intertwined. You could be like I'm not a music person in the sound world, but because I have a music background, I can edit like the dialogue in time with picture, with sound design, with sound and like music, and tighten it all up so you don't feel like it's lugging on, you know? So it's all relevant.
There's something I learned from what you just said, and that is both of you guys are very passionate, just like reeks. So what's interesting is you said you were traveling from San Diego to come here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
4
sometimes
months.
in my classes, students will say, boy, there's a lot of traffic. I'm like, you just came from downtown.
They don't know traffic.
Right, and so you know, there's something to learn from that, and that is, you know, I'm recalling Sylvester Stallone. What I'm trying to say is, how bad do you want it, right? So Sylvester Stallone, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. He tried 1,500 times. You know, on his Rocky, on the movie, that's how many failures he had. 1,500 times he got rejected until they picked up that. I'm surprised you didn't add that to your list.
I mean, he was homeless too. He only had his dog. He almost had to get rid of his dog to get that made.
Well, most of the people who really do well in this business,
Tyler Perry?
Tyler Perry slept in his car for a while. Jim Carrey slept in his car for a while.
I slept in my car.
Oh, you did?
I did.
I never did, but you know what? Sometimes I wish I had, because not just because of sleeping in the car, but, and this is one thing I wanted to say about the people here who have not graduated yet. Get those internships, because back in my day they didn't have them, so I tried to get them after I graduated. But you're not getting paid. I had to pay big boy bills, you know, out the gate. You know, I had to pay like rent, car note, insurance and stuff. My parents were back in Detroit, and then my father passed, so I was on my own. So I had to get a real job. So I ended up getting accounting work, and I got in at Aaron Spelling Productions TV, and that was great because I learned about the financial, you know, all the financial stuff and the budgets and stuff. Cool. But on the creative side, I was like pushed away from the creative, because you have to be able to go work all day on the creative stuff, whether you're an actor, trying to be a director or something like that, in order to be there while they're working in the daytime. That's why people sleep in their car, because they can't have a day job.
You can't
They
leave.
have to, you know, they can get a job at night maybe, doing security, or maybe, there was no Uber back in those days. So it's very limited on the night job thing. So you would do whatever you could, keep your bills down, maybe not have to pay rent. By sleeping in your, and people, I mean, Steve Harvey, I mean, a lot of people did it. I couldn't, I wasn't that dude, you know, so so I went to work in the daytime, tried to write at night, and, you know, stuff like that. So I'm just saying, make use of the fact that you're in school now to get in to do the internships while you're actually have a place to sleep and have food, you know what I'm saying?
Take advantage of it.
It's not impossible though. I did it. I mean, I worked at Enterprise LAX overnight. So, and still in school, because I had to pay bills too. I was just like him. I had a whole life, remember? So I still had other student loans to pay while I'm here, and rent and all of that, food. You just got to do what you got to do. I had to take the internship. They don't pay you because you're in school, so they're like, no. So you got to make money. And if you can work on 3 hours of sleep, do it, because it's short term. Like, sleep will come eventually. I swear, like, I wouldn't be here if I was like, I'd rather sleep 8 hours. No, like, you work all night, do what you want to do. Like, if you want to be a film person, do the film all day, work all night to make the money. Like, there's ways to get through it, and it just means, I'm not saying go and have every kind of energy drink in your hand. I mean, I did, but still, you can still do it if you really want to. If you don't, or you just like someone else will get you there, it's not gonna happen. Like, you have to really want it. Whether you're doing, like, I was renting cars. Who wants to do that for 20 years, right? Like, I mean, I know there's people out there who would do that, but I didn't want to do that. So it made me work twice as hard during the day, even though I was exhausted, to just get through that night job.
Right.
I got to where I wanted because I did what I didn't want to do for a little bit. Right. So it's like, it's okay to not really like your job for a little while. Just make sure you know it's like, oh, this is temporary. This is just to get my food, my clothes, my books for school, whatever it is. Like,
yeah, everything is temporary, but the big prize is at the end.
yeah.
We do a lot of things that we don't want. I remember when I left Wall Street, I had actually, when I was on Wall Street, I had to make 90 phone calls, guys. 90 in a day, 90. Now, you guys would think I was on 3 gallons of coffee. I probably was. But 90, and then I got a lot of rejections, and I only got about 6 that were interested, and then I closed 2. But after I left Wall Street, when I set up Hitman in San Francisco, I had a recording studio in there, and it was amazing because I was taking clients, and I was leaving the studio at 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning, and then I had a meeting with another client at 9 in the morning. You get it, guys? And so that's why sometimes students kind of trip me out a little bit. They go, "Oh, I was in the studio, I'm exhausted," and I'm like, "How long were you in there?" And they go, "Oh, 12," and I'm like, "Pull yourself together." Okay, moving on. I would love to hear you guys. One of your favorite film projects that you worked on. I'll start with you, Bruce.
Okay, that I worked on in terms of testing 1, 2.
You wanna use mine?
Okay.
That's a tough one, but because you probably
Not
you like them all.
not one of my own, or something that I just worked on for like a
it could
client.
be your own or any of them. Yeah, all of the above.
Huh. Well, my favorite one is definitely the one I worked on.
Of course.
My favorite one is my LAFS thesis film that
Okay.
we shot partially out at a studio in the Valley. We did some pickup shots in the I guess what do they call it, the red room, the room down there, I think that when you do something that comes from your own imagination or your heart or whatever, it's a part of you. So it's almost like having a child, and it goes on forever, So that's my favorite. But in terms of like client work or something like that, I did a job at Warner Brothers where we did digital media. We changed it from film or video, and then we changed it into a format where they could stream on Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, and we probably did everything in their catalog. So we did stuff like The Dark Knight, Inception, and all that, but also classics like Casablanca and stuff like that. So I would just say the Warner Brothers catalog. That was fun to work on. The classics, yeah, Blade Runner, all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Angelina?
Oh, sorry.
You're fine. I have 2. One is recent, and it was a TV show.
Okay.
It was What We Do in the Shadows, and that was really, really challenging. It was probably one of the hardest projects I've ever worked on. Granted, I was working on other things at the same time, so I was always tired working on it, but it was something I enjoyed because I really like comedy, and I really like vampires. And so to work on both things was really, really cool. It was a project that actually came out of nowhere for me. So that's why it's one of my favorites. It's one of those where you don't realize when your networking is going to come back and hit you in the face in a good way. I guess they got my name from several different people. And I was like, yes, I want to work on this. This would be a lot of fun. And the second one, as far as being in the top, it was when I was working on trailers at Universal. I worked on a trailer for Angelina Jolie, and surprising.
Okay.
And that was probably the only time I ever fangirled, ever. Because I'm a big fan, but I worked on her trailer for her movie, and the name escapes me because I'm really, really, really bad with names, which is bad in this industry.
Tomb Raider?
No, it's the guy was holding the wood up. No, she directed this movie, and it was, yeah, he's holding wood like this.
Invictus, or it was shot during Christmas, a guy in the army?
Yeah, and he passed 2 years ago, I think, but this was in his honor. Unbroken. Ha! I knew it was going to come to me. Unbroken was a lot of fun to work with. I didn't get to like shake her hand, but I was in the room with her for 12 hours. So whatever she needed dialogue-wise, because I was a dialogue editor for the trailers, I was just like shooting stuff off to her and like this is so cool. But yeah, those would be the two biggest projects for me that I really enjoyed.
This is an interesting question for both of you guys, but you could take it. Who was in your life that you looked up to? Who that you was a mentor for you, or who influenced you? Was there anybody that kind of influenced you that you looked up to, or was a mentor for you?
No, actually, I did look up to a woman named Laura Hershberg. She's a re-recording mixer up at Skywalker Ranch. She's not very well known. Not very many people know there are female re-recording mixers because there's, I think, 5.
Wow.
I think. But she's a lesbian woman, married with children and working in the re-recording chair. Not an assistant, not a secretary, not all the other behind the scenes. She's like the focal point, and I thought that was amazing. Right. So that would be the closest thing to something that I'd be like, that'd be cool. But the past 2 years, my mind went from re-recording mixing to editing. Like, editing is where I want to be. I thought I wanted to be a mixer. I thought I wanted to do this, but I can do editing from anywhere in the world.
Right.
And I don't need to be stuck into a mixing chair dealing with clients, which I love to do, but not enough to stay stuck in one spot for 30 years. Right. I'd rather work from wherever I want, as long as my work, like I brought my work with me today, because after here I'm working in the corner for another hour.
Times have changed, huh?
So I'd rather do that personally. So that's where, that came up. But Laura Hershberg would be the closest thing to something or someone I would look up to.
Right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what the percentage is of women in your field, like in your specific field.
Small. There's only one ADR mixer who's a female and also a woman of color, and her name is Jessie Dodd.
Wow.
And she's the only one that I know that is a person of color and female.
Wow.
And I've been doing this for 7 years.
Wow, so we applaud you.
It's hard.
Okay. So Bruce, who was there? Was there anybody that, that kind of influenced you, or was a mentor?
All the influences were from afar. Nobody directly.
That's fine.
Oh, okay. So in my entire life, I would say the most influence I probably got was during my years at Aaron Spelling Productions, because at the time he had like 9 shows, and they kind of saw that I was hungry to learn stuff, so they told me that I would just like sneak on the sets, and the sets were closed. Nobody could go on the sets, so they saw me over and over. So then they said, "Oh, you look like you really want to learn this stuff, so you can come anytime you want." So every day after I left my desk job, which was like accounting, adding up all the bills for what it takes to make the shows, like work from 9 to 6. So I would come in before 9, like maybe at 7, they would start shooting. At 9, I had to be at the desk. At 1, when lunchtime came, I went back down on the set. And then I went back to my desk at 2. And then at 6, when my desk job was over, I went back down to the sets and stayed till they wrapped. It could be 7, 8, or 9 at night. Because it was like a wonderland for me, and it was like, that's where I wanted to be. So I met lots of writers, directors, producers, actors, camera people, and
I'm going to stop you right there. That's where the magic happens. Is that correct?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I don't know if you guys caught that.
there are 2 places where the magic happens.
Yes.
One is on the set where they're making the stuff, but there's this whole other world in the offices where they do the writing.
Yes.
And that's like a whole other thing where it looks boring when you look at it, because it's just guys and girls, women, talking to each other. Maybe they put something on a board and plan out some stuff, and they're having a conversation, and somebody takes all the outline notes, and then they go off and actually write a script. And then they get notes on those, and they do revisions. So it looks boring, but the people on the set wouldn't have anything to shoot or act or block or direct unless they had that script. So the quality of the script is important. So those are the 2 wonderlands, and I was there for like almost 3 years, so I saw and learned a whole.
Now that company is big. I don't know if you guys know the company that. Name some of the things that shows or films that came out of there. I remember that company. Was that the one with the typewriter with the logo?
Oh no, you're thinking about the other guy, Jim Cannon.
Okay.
Cannon, yeah.
So, but
Aaron Spelling. Okay, the people here might know of him more so from 90210 Melrose Place.
Yeah, okay.
You know, but and I
Wait,
should-
they would know that. You guys know 90?
I saw when I was 5.
Oh, that's right, because they have Hulu now. They have Hulu.
I think I was 5 or
Yeah.
6.
Oh,
I don't name the shows, the other shows, because there was like, if those shows were old, I can't talk about the other shows because there is something called ageism, where you don't want to be associated with something that's too old,
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
people won't hire you, you know. So you guys have that advantage when you're younger, especially in this social media area where where everybody has access to your information.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, anything that's out there, people can find. So I
Yeah.
try to limit how much I talk about some of that stuff, because if the people who would hire now, they were like, what? My granddaddy was gonna, you know. But just trust me, it was a lot. Okay.
Real quick, says, what advice, both of you guys, would you give the students here today?
you can go
What
first.
advice?
Starting with.
You start with you.
Okay. Well, I kind of did in a way, but here it is. The time you have here is so limited, and it's so expensive, like really expensive. If you didn't come from the military and have that paid by your GI Bill, and you like me, you'll be paying that off for a long time, and I am still paying it off. But the time you spend here is like gold. There's so much to learn. Like I would say, well, first of all, you gotta know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, then try everything. But learn everything. Learn production design, even though if you're not gonna be a production designer. Try to get certified on every piece of equipment, every camera, every digital camera, the 35 millimeter Panavision. Get certified on the sound, production sound equipment, the boom mics. Get certificate. I don't know if production design still does
SketchUp?
guilds and stuff like that. Yeah, SketchUp. Learn all that stuff, because you never know what job you will get or what can help you while you're in between the jobs that you really want to get. You just want to be as valuable as possible. And so learn everything. Don't waste any time. Let me tell you something. Time is so short, okay?
Yeah.
All I can say is, when it's over here and you got to go out and work, then it's like, even though they tell me I can come back and take all the classes, whatever, I can't come back because I got to work,
Yeah.
So get it here, get it now, get it under your belt, get that knowledge and that understanding. Just learn everything. Show up early, do your work. Don't treat it like school. That's my most important thing. Treat it like a kid playing in a sandbox, A kid playing in a sandbox never says, oh, I gotta go play in the sandbox. Oh, I'm tired of playing in the sandbox. Do I gotta play in the sandbox again? It's like, no, it's
Yeah.
like you love doing it,
Right.
then do it, and do it till you're exhausted.
It shouldn't feel like work.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. And then you get exhausted, and you wake up, you sleep, and you come back and you do it again.
Do it again.
And if you have that kind of drive and that kind of understanding and knowledge, people will, it's almost like they smell it on you. You walk into a room of 300 people, and the people are the movers and shakers. It's something about you that just kind of almost irritate them. But it would be like an irritation, like game recognized game type of thing, And it's like they'll be attracted to you, and then when you start talking to them, you're talking to them from a place of knowledge, of understanding, of passion. But if you just come to school and say, well, I'm gonna cheat on my test, or I'm gonna do just enough to get a C, I don't know where you're gonna end up in this business, because it's hard.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. Learn everything, put in 110%, and get everything you can out of these people, because you will pay for it whether you get the stuff out or not, so get it.
He's not wrong.
I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. Piggyback off of that is, be a nuisance here at school. Make yourself known, put your face out there, talk to everybody. I am not much of a people person. I actually am very scared of what we're doing here, but I also don't, I'm just an editor, so I like to be behind the scenes, nobody talk to me, let me work, But even I have to go out and put myself out there. So even if you're scared, even if you're worried if they're gonna like you or not, it doesn't matter. They gotta get to know your face, because they might not remember your name, but if you put your face in there over and over and over, they'll be like, who is that girl or who is that guy? That guy. Ask it, you know, but you don't know who's gonna catch your face. I like bombarded the career development department here. Literally the day after graduation, I sent them a resume, and every 2 weeks I sent them a resume, even if it didn't change, just so it could get to the top of their email box. Because if they heard something, I'd be like, I need a job, like yesterday. So if they didn't have my most updated resume, how are they gonna know I'm available? Like,
That's good.
use the school. I got my internship, or my first job interview through the school. And it was Universal Studios, like the backlot, like the actual studios, not the theme park. And it was because they're like, you kept emailing me. You were the first name that I thought of. Like, so you just gotta be, they're there to be annoyed. You have to get them to remember who you are, because when you think about it, look how many students are here. So if you send them one email, in 6 months, that email is gonna be 10,000 down. So I sent it every 2 weeks, even if my resume didn't change. So you just gotta be persistent, use every resource here. I was here early and I left late. Like, I left until they kicked me out half the time, because I was like, well, I gotta get this done. Or, you know, for me it was sound and not music. So I tried to get into the film side of things. So because there was no classes, I went and did film outside of the class. I went and talked to people like him, not necessarily him, even though he was around, and just kind of injected myself as much as I could, because if you don't do that, no one's gonna know you. And this business is, if they don't know you, they're not gonna try to get to know you. But if someone knows you and they say, oh, go check out this person, then they'll give you the time of day. So the biggest thing is, even if you feel like you're bugging them, you're actually not. You're just trying to become present in their minds.
And I want to add to that, and that would be the human element, because I know, you know, millennials, everybody's all
Online.
yeah. So, you know,
Yeah.
I'm old school, right? And new school, I'm both, right? But there's nothing wrong, guys, with showing up in person to career development and bringing a box of Krispy Kremes at around 11 a.m. I would say that would go very far. I actually cut a lot of deals, believe it or not, over food, right?
Yeah.
I gave a barbecue recipe, right? It was amazing, right? And I got a huge distribution deal just by doing that, right? It's crazy. But that's a human element. That's what I wanted to make a very strong point.
You got to schmooze.
Exactly.
If you don't go to networking events, no one's going to ever know who you are.
Yes. That being said, this moves me to the next question. What organizations, or let's say trade organizations, would you advise these students here to join? Because they should look into joining now, not until they graduate. So are there any trade organizations that you guys can recommend students?
I know the union's hard to get into, or IATSE or MPEG for editing. I don't know who else is here for editing sound. The Motion Picture Editors Guild, they also have like student levels. So I'd say check those out. I wish I did when I was in school, but like I said, film sound wasn't important at that time, so I didn't even know until years later that was something I should have been looking into around this age. So the Motion Picture Editors Guild is a good place to start if you want to go into sound for picture. So movies, TV commercials, down to the Instagram commercials, they all need sound. So check them out. There's always a lot of classes that they give too. If you join them, I think the student level, it's not free, but it's worth the money. Like, you get free classes, you get free access to things, and you can go to seminars with big, like, well-known people. And
it goes on your resume.
And it goes on your resume. So it's something important to look into. I would say that.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to see how many people here are like camera people. Like you decide, or camera department is your goal. How about sound, production design,
Wow.
post-production, editing? Okay, mostly post. we have more LARS people here than
Okay, cool.
LAFS maybe. Well, when I was in school, some of these are not organizations. I mean, they're not things to join, but they're organizations that put on things, and they encourage students to come, like the CAS, the Cinema Audio Society.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are in charge of, they have a society that helps with all the sound stuff. They advance the state of the art or whatever, and they have lots of talks. So when I was going to school here, I don't know if it was a newsletter, but we would find out about events like that. Then we would find out about Cinegear, it happens at Paramount every spring, where it's like an expo for like Saturday and Sunday with all the different cameras and lighting equipment and sound, and it's free. But you just got a lot of stuff is free for students. You just got to sign up.
Yeah.
And then there's the J.L. Fisher barbecue thing that happens every April, May, something like that, and that's open to students. Usually the instructors tell you when this stuff is happening, but a lot of students don't go.
They don't go.
Oh, there was
I
one
went to
more.
this one thing called it was called the Creative Sphere, and it was at the Sheraton Universal, and it was like about cinematography. And it's this guy named Roger Deakins, who everybody loves him as a cinematographer. So he was speaking. So I said, because I went to the CAS though, I went to the Cinegear.
Yeah, no,
I went to
CAS is
J.L.
good.
Fisher. I just went, if they told me it was happening, it was like, okay, that's where I'm supposed to be this weekend.
But you got to go to everything.
So I went to that thing, and after he spoke, and this guy, he's done all kinds of movies. He's like the top guy in the business. So then after he spoke, he came out and hung out in the lobby, and he just talked to people for an hour, took pictures with us and everything. So this was like 2011 when I was still a student, and I took a picture with him. I said, well, instead of me taking one of those pictures where you're like, like this, shaking hands, or I said, I want to take a picture where like I'm the director, you're my cinematographer, and I'm showing you where I want to get my next shot. So he goes, oh, where's that shot? So he snapped the picture.
Clever.
I'm gonna tell you something. That picture has been helping me for the past 10 years
That's
now.
You
genius.
never know. You
Almost
never
10
know.
years. And he just won his second Academy
Yeah.
Award a
On
few
Sunday.
days ago.
On
Sunday. And he won his first one after being nominated 14 times last year for Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
And he also has a website where for free, you register for free, he answers all questions. He loves helping students. A lot of those people who are really big, they love helping students.
Right.
But you got to go to them. They're not
Yeah.
going to come to you,
No.
So,
Oh, AES is another one.
yeah.
The Audio Engineers Society.
I'm a member of that one.
Yeah, what I did is I actually went and volunteered at their convention in San Francisco. If you do that, the people you meet,
Amazing.
I mean, I met Laura Hershberg there, so I was on the moon. I got to hang out with her, talk to her, pick her brain. If you want to meet somebody, it would be at AES at their big convention. And go volunteer, because that's free. Now you don't have to pay to get in there.
I want to
You
say it's
work a couple
39
hours.
for the students.
Oh,
Last
even
time I
better.
checked, 39 a year. For
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't
A lot of
remember.
magic happens there as well. I mean, I got a publishing deal there. You know what I mean? Because I have books, and the lady was there, and so she remembered. I took her card, and I was like, "Oh, I was at the AES," and then she goes, "Okay, send me your book." So,
Yeah.
I also want to give you guys. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. The Los Angeles Post Production Group. Have you guys heard
yeah.
that? That
Yeah.
one is free for you
Yeah.
guys. Free is good.
Yeah.
So.
I went to a
Yes.
couple of those, and that's where I learned about not just production sound, but also I got into learning about the DIT position on the set, which was kind of new at the time because everything was going over from film to digital. And so they were explaining some stuff, and based on me going to that group you just mentioned, I was able to navigate my way to a company called Light Iron. And I almost got a job where I could just have been working on all the big movies, like Spider-Man and all that. But I would have to have left school, and I made the decision to finish school.
Which was good.
But I'm just telling you, going to these events, you could be student today and professional like the next week.
Yeah.
If you impress people and you show that you're hungry and you're serious, But I would say still finish your school.
Finish
Get your
school.
degree, yeah.
And a lot of them will work with you too.
That's correct.
They'll work with you.
And I want to add something, I'm sure you guys will back me on this, to make sure you bring your business card.
Yeah.
Because a lot of millennials are like, I don't need a business card.
Yes, you do.
I'll just get their phone.
No.
We had Clive Davis come here once. It was amazing. because he had this documentary, and I think everybody was trying to approach him, but I think he had bodyguards, so they were like, no. And students were like, oh, I could just get his phone, and I'm thinking, no, I don't think that will happen. But if you actually had a business card, you could have probably slipped it to him, right?
Yep.
Don't know if he's going to throw it away, but the opportunity's there. But that being said, at these events that they're talking about, lots of times some of the senior exec film directors, et cetera, they're old school,
Yep.
and so they will accept your business card versus a phone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I'm just going to give you that. Now I'm going to open up the floor for you guys because we're pretty much out of time. So, but we got about maybe 5 more minutes. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for coming again. My name is Steve Hartsville. So I'm in a 6-month associate program in film production. So I'm looking to get into video editing. I know we were talking about sound and everything, but I know being an assistant editor is a little bit harder to get into. So what would you suggest would be on my current career path to seek internships for assistant editing for video?
Okay, the assistant editor position is one that they need it real bad. They need you to because everybody needs to, sync picture and sound, and they gotta log everything. So especially in that unscripted world, I don't know the unscripted world as much, but I know there's a lot of work. So at the career development department, there's they told us that there's this company called Media Match, MediaMatch.com, and Media Match. It's like a reduced rate to join it, and then you'll get a listing of everybody who's looking for assistant directors. But this is for work. Now they do have they have what they call low and no budget. So if you choose no budget, that means they know that you're not getting paid. So that's more like the internship thing. But that's more work, less than not so much as internship. But for internships, I would say just approach the companies that do editing, like Trailer Park does trailer editing.
Yep.
What's the other Post Haste does
Post
sound
Haste, yeah.
editing. Look at the companies that do editing, and then just send your resume and just say, I would like to intern.
Yeah, because I'm surprised how y'all can manage to do all that. 'Cause, I mean, this format now, our classes change by the month.
Yeah.
So I can imagine you gotta be flexible as far as the internship, because some days I have class at 8, some days I have class at 12, some at 7. I mean,
Yep. And sometimes you got to work with them overnight doing their cleanup work.
okay.
Yep. There's ways around all of that. Like, it's if you find a company that's willing to work with you, or you prove to them that you can do it, then having a class here and there, or talking to your instructor and being like, look, I have an internship opportunity. Could I switch? Or could you give me the work ahead of time? Or some kind of notes to say, hey, I'm going to miss this class. Can you put me up to speed so that I can actually make my internship? But you got to show your teacher that that's what you're really doing, and really put in that effort. Because if you really want that job, having a class it's not going to hurt or hinder if you talk to your instructor. There's ways around
Between your
it.
instructor and the internship place,
Oh, yeah.
you can coordinate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a company it used to be called the Cimarron Group. I don't know if they're still there, off of Santa Monica and Highland. I don't know if they're still there or not. But just even in this, man, we live in you can just walk.
right
There's
here.
so many places in walking distance of this building where you could intern.
Yep.
So, it could work for your classes.
Yeah. And just know you probably won't jump right into being an assistant editor and be ready to take it on, and be like, this is what I want, but I'm available for anything.
Okay, so just be open to
Yep.
whatever they offer.
Yeah, you
You
might-
could say no.
You
I
might be a
mean,
post assistant first.
Yeah.
Which means you might
Get your coffee.
drive and drop stuff off for them, maybe make coffee, answer phones as a post-production assistant.
Yep.
Then from there, you're in the company now. You see what the assistant assistant editors do. You see how everything goes. They like you, then they move you to an assistant editor position.
you move your way
But
around.
to be an assistant editor, you have to have those skills. You got to know how to, log and, with Avid probably and stuff like that, log and capture, sync sound and picture, yada, yada, yada. But if you start off as a post assistant, you probably don't have to have skills at the beginning.
Yep.
You just help them with office work and stuff like that.
And ask
then
them questions.
Yeah.
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 Basically ask them as many
Steve
questions.
Cook is one of the teachers, right? Is it Steve Cook still here, teacher, editor? Yeah, ask him. He'll know about who to go to.
So for viewers out there, the question was, alternative ways to seek internships. So I also want to add to it, entertainmentcareers.net. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
That, they have actually jobs in the entertainment industry, but on that site, they also list internships.
Absolutely.
And so you guys definitely want to take a look at that. And there's an agency here, maybe you guys are familiar with it. It's probably one of the only one of its kind. It is a entertainment agency. Right? So you guys will probably have heard of Kelly Services or Manpower. This is Kelly Services or Manpower, but for entertainment, and it's called Friedman Personnel. You may want to bookmark that. And so they are, I believe they're still on Sunset in West Hollywood, but they're almost what we call a headhunter, and they will send you out. Their clients are Sony, Universal, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, so.
One other thing you can do is all the studios, Sony, Warner Brothers, Disney, it used to be Fox, but Paramount, they all have websites, and on their websites, they list their
Careers.
internships.
Yes, they
Yep.
do.
They do.
And some of them do like massive hiring 2 or 3 times a year. But you have to go on their website. They don't blast it anywhere. They don't advertise it anywhere. It could be up for an hour and they take it right down. And whoever saw it that hour is the people going in for those jobs. So you really have to be hunting.
Register and sign up, and you just check it every day.
Yep, check it every day.
While you're eating your cornflakes, check it in the morning.
Exactly.
And don't wait till, like they're saying, don't wait till graduation time.
Yeah.
Because actually, he's so right. What you were saying earlier, you were saying that you have to be in school. Lots of the internships, they want to see that, LA Film School is behind it. And so you can't wait till you graduate. So that should have already taken place months earlier. Is that correct?
Absolutely, because they won't touch you. Nowadays, because somebody at Fox sued them maybe about 8 years ago, saying that they were, basically manipulating and using students to get free labor without paying them. And somebody said, well, they should no longer be able to have you work without paying you. And they said, well, we're providing them a ticket to get into the industry. And they said, well, you're still using people because everybody doesn't get into the industry.
Right.
Yep.
So they said, okay, so now it's illegal almost. It's definitely distasteful, but almost illegal. So they say, okay, well, we'll only take interns if they can get college credit from their school. That's the only way it happens.
Yeah, and I want to add something, kind of put this out there for you guys as well, and that is on your resume, make sure, underneath your degree, your work history, and then your degrees, underneath that, you guys have to really push the dial on memberships, because they basically broke down memberships and trade organizations, but memberships should be listed, internships, memberships, and then underneath that, memberships, associations, etc. Because in interviews, they look at that. Don't you guys?
And here's one way: if you can't join everything because things cost money and it takes time, if you just go to an event from a certain type of thing, you can just list that. I go to events sponsored by
Just put the name on there.
AEC. JRT, HTS, or whatever.
Right.
If you're like a writer or somebody who wants to get into the writing side, there's an organization called the Junior Radio and TV Society, JRHTS, and that they have a really strong student body thing, and they have events, they have mixers, they get you into stuff, they have top agents and managers come and speak, and only people who are in school can join. Like I can't go, I snuck in one, but it's like I can't get in because I don't have a student ID anymore.
Yep.
And one other thing I want to mention for students, things like Creative Cloud, Adobe Creative Cloud software, whether you're doing film, Premiere Pro, or you're doing Audition, or Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever, it's like they have a thing for students that's like way lower than it is for everybody else. But you gotta, this is being recorded, right? So,
yes.
Okay, I have to be careful. Let's just say this.
Copyright infringement.
If you have a student email address, then you can get a student discount.
There it
Indeed.
is.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say that. A lot of things you can get as students that you can no longer get as soon as you graduate.
Yep.
Get it all. Just get everything you can. Yeah.
Right. We have any other questions on the floor? Yes.
What other, I don't know if you've ever done this for your writing, but are there any news organizations where you kind of can
I didn't hear that question.
Okay, so like, like if you're a writer,
Yes.
like, are there like editing groups or like people that you can kind of pitch your ideas to? Like, do you know?
Oh, pitch your ideas
Yeah,
to
like
become
brainstorming.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, so repeat the question so our viewers can hear it.
The question was, for writers, are there any places where, I guess, students could pitch their ideas? And I would say that the short answer is nobody buys ideas. They only buy finished scripts. So,
Right.
so you can pitch your ideas places, well, for scripted. But if you're doing non-scripted, meaning reality, then there are places where you can go pitch. You go to production companies, but I think you mean writing, right? Writing, yeah. Nobody buys ideas. Back in the 90s, you know, they used to have that where you go in and you have these pitch things and then people would buy your idea and then they take it. Nowadays, it's like they only want to pay for stuff that they actually are going to make.
Correct.
They only want to develop stuff that they think they're going to shoot and make. So they want finished scripts, and you don't even exist as an important entity unless you show up with a finished product, whether it's a pilot for TV
Yep.
or a feature film or something like that. So your idea, what you need to do is take your idea right now and then learn the craft of screenwriting and then write a finished script. And then you submit the script to contests, fellowships. There are writing programs. ABC, Disney has one. Warner Brothers has one. You know, different studios have them. And then also, you know, you send it to managers and agents trying to get representation. And that's how that world works. But you cannot sell an idea to anybody. Nobody cares. Because everybody has great ideas.
Right.
You know, yeah.
What's your end goal?
Well, like, I just like writing in general. I'm in the music program right now, but like, that's something that I like.
So you want to learn how to write screenplays?
I guess one of them.
Yes, I think you should start learning how to write screenplays tonight. And
Yeah.
because it's a long journey, so start tonight, and then once you get to having a script, then you can show up like this with the script, and then that's when you begin the real journey. But to get to having a script that somebody thinks is good, you got to put in, you know, a little
The time.
work or time. You know, it's like saying, I got an idea for a song. I got an idea for a song. Like,
All right.
okay, they want to know, can I click something and hear the song? You know, they don't want to hear about the idea for the song, so it's the same type of thing, you know. Yeah.
But, yeah, go ahead.
And what was the J?
J is the Junior Radio and Television. You know what? When it's over, I'm going to Google it. I have to Google it. I'll Google it. It's JRHTS, I think, as it is. Yeah.
Okay, we got one more question.
Yeah, she back there.
Yes.
Yeah, so my name is Miss Kennedy. Thank you guys so much for your time. I'm a fifth-year music production student. And my question is actually more so about workflow. So earlier, both of you, something that really stuck out to me was that you both began as musicians and then transcended into the film industry. So for me, right now, I label myself as a producer, a photographer, and a lyricist. And ultimately, I do want to transcend into film, kind of like my colleague, Emmy Award-nominated. And so I kind of want to know, what was you guys' workflow like from that transition from being a musician to actually moving into the film industry? So I'm actually reading a lot of material just to give you a little bit more context that talks about pretty much like mastering one skill at a time. So earlier, Mr. Gordon, I heard you speak about pretty much like get certified in everything. So how would you describe the process of like multi-managing that? And then Ms. Faulkner, of course.
Okay, when I said learn everything, like get certified on everything, I was saying as a film student at LA Film School where you're paying so much money, you know, and your time is very short, and you got everything here, get it all, because once it's over, you're not going to get it again. So you get it all. There are seasons in life, you know, that the whole idea of you should do one thing and be very good and specialize at one thing is true, you know, because you want to be branded as something, that's your brand. But there are seasons when you're learning, you're nurturing, you're developing, and you're not out in the world. So when you're in school, I believe you're like nurturing yourself. So you're learning all these different things. It's not like you're multitasking, because even when you were in junior high or middle school or high school or whatever, you had math, you had English, you had PE, you had science, maybe you had cooking, whatever, and you had to do homework for all these teachers, and they all thought that their homework was the only homework you had to do, and it was all important, and you had to do it, and you did it. So if you look at it like that, it's like, okay, I'm gonna learn camera, I'm gonna learn sound, I'm gonna learn production design, I'm gonna learn everything it takes to make a movie, you know. Even the music is important, you know. Everything is important. There's 36 crafts in making a movie or a TV show. That means almost like 36 unions, you know. Yep. 36 disciplines. But there's a guy, like when I worked for Aaron Spelling, that's one thing I learned. He had been an actor, he'd been an editor, he'd been a whatever, and so at a certain point he met with somebody, they became producers, and then they just kind of like hired all the 36 craftspeople, and he had a team on this show and a team on that show and a team on it, and he just kind of stirred the soup and supervised. But he didn't have to be great at all of them, he just had to know enough about them so that he could work with great people. So if you spend the time you spend here at school, which is only like, are you on a 4-year or a 2-year? 2 year, okay, so they're even that.
Even shorter.
You spend those 2 years, you don't call it multitasking, you call it learning everything about one thing, which is filmmaking. That's one thing, how to become the best filmmaker. You learn everybody's job just enough so that when you get out of school and you're doing the thing that you really, really are passionate about, you can still communicate on a professional level to the people in the other 35 departments because you've been there, you've seen that. Like, I'm not gonna be a cinematographer, you know, but I can tell you how to, you know, work with the files. I can tell you how to, you know, about the frame rates. And if I'm talking to my DP and I'm saying, well, I'm going to get this shot and I want to have this dreamy effect, and I'll say, well, and he'll say, well, you know, if you do this with the shutter or whatever, I'll say, well, yeah, I know what he's talking about because I learned that down the hall down there, you know, and it stays with you forever. You know, if you learn something, it never goes away. So that's why I would not call it being, you know, they say be a master, what do they say? Don't be a jack of all trades and a master of none, because, you know, people want specialists in the end, but in your nurturing stage, you want to learn everything. You want to learn all the trades, even though you're not going to do them, but you just want to know them, you know. So, did that answer your question?
Part.
Yeah, somewhat, but I'm assuming this one.
Okay, yeah.
Touching on like the transition, like how did you go from like mastering your craft and music to okay now? Because honestly, and I was asking this question from a place of like, I'm from New Orleans, and one of my biggest role models is Master P. So starting in NBA, once that, you know, when you speak about seasons, his dream was cut short there due to an injury, right? So then he began promoting his music, and then ultimately he knew that music is not where he wanted to stay, just like 50%. Music is not quite where we want to stay, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
so just thinking of, you know, earlier you said something that I actually just tweeted that resonates with me, that nothing is long-term
Yep.
except success. And so in my goal to accomplish long-term success, I'm understanding that these are things that I need to become familiar with and, like you said, nurture, but just figuring out
Your path.
organizing my time and developing a workflow so that I can be, you know, able to communicate professionally in these things, master this craft, but ultimately in 5-10 years, put myself at the trajectory in which I see in my head now. Yeah.
Angelina, can you kind of
Repeat the question? I was about to.
For our viewers.
Yeah. So she asked, what is like the workflow or the path to transition from being a musician into basically the film sound world? Because that's kind of what my life was, really. I played music for 14 years. I can do math, I promise. Well, like I said, I started in music, producing. I wanted to be the next big DJ, the whole 9. And 4 months in, I took that film sound class, and that's what changed my mind, right? So what I did was I still went on the production route. So I learned the SSL, I learned the Neve, I learned everything to do with music. But on the side, I started taking on films from all the students here at the school. Little by little, I said, someone asked, like, can you compose music for this? I'm like, no, but I know someone who does, and I can learn it, and then I can do it for your film. And if they're willing, they'll do that. And of course, I did it. So, you can do it for composing, you could do dialogue editing, you can do sound design, and sound editing, which are actually two different things, which they don't really differentiate a lot of the times in schools. And that's not a school's fault. It's like you don't know this until you're thrown into the deep end. So I still did my classes, right? You got your set classes, that's what your degree's in. Start taking on extra stuff on the side. Like if you want to know about composing specifically the picture and timing and rhythm, which is what I mentioned earlier, go to all the film students and say, are you working on your thesis film? Do you need someone to compose music for your film? Can I give it a shot? Because there are students that are like, heck yeah, I don't have to pay you, sweet. Because it's part of school, it's part of their project. So you can fall flat on your face and learn from it. So that's what I was doing. I did that. I said, oh my God, I don't want to be a composer. So I was like, okay, well, let me try sound design. Not good at that. But I did 5 films and said, oh, I really am not good at this. So I said, okay, well, let me try sound editing. And that's like Foley and dealing with sounds like that, recorded on set, all of that. I was good at that, but then I was like, I don't want to do that. But now I know how to talk to whoever is a Foley editor and be like, this is what I want. So I went from little piece to little piece using student films because they're already making these films. They're already doing it with or without you. So you have this pool of students who have all these films that they want to make, and they need a team. So just pick little things. You can go, and we can talk after if you want to, but like learn what Foley means, learn what dialogue means, learn what composing means, learn all of these terms, and then learn the steps for each one. It's too much to list at the moment, but that's what I did. I just took on a project, and each project I did something different. So yeah, I composed music for one, hated it, so I didn't do it on the next one, but I said, okay, well, I'm gonna sound design this one. Was okay at it. I eventually landed on the fact that I like to work on dialogue and vocals and people's mouths. But I wouldn't have found that without trying every little piece of the sound pie for film. And you can't do that in school. Like the school will give you the structure, maybe how to work Pro Tools in post-production audio. If you don't know Pro Tools, you might as well not even try. You may hate Pro Tools, but if you don't know it, no one will give you the time of day. It is the industry standard. Not for composing. This is strictly post-production audio, designing, all of that. A composer can compose in any software they want, but they always export material for Pro Tools. Mixers all use Pro Tools. Re-recording mixers, all Pro Tools. You can hate it, you can dog on it, but I'm sorry, that has been industry standard. You can run away as fast as you can, but if you don't know it, no one's gonna work with you. Or at least being able to save your stuff in a Pro Tools session to hand off to the mixer. So that's how I moved from music over. I use all my music knowledge in dialogue editing. I use all my music knowledge in sound design because everything has a rhythm. Life has a rhythm. You walk in rhythm. Everything has a rhythm. And if you don't know how to regurgitate that rhythm, you're not going to be able to turn in something tight, you know? If someone's talking, of course you're not going to have a drum beat, you know, underneath. I mean, rap and everything, they have drum beats, you know, that's different. But in music or in movies, you're going to need to know how to create stuff around dialogue, which is king. You know, and they don't teach you that here. And it's not even that they can't or they won't, it's just part of the process.
One thing about your question is that everybody on the planet has like an individual journey and has a different, they came from different places and they're going different places. So the actual way that you transition from anything is not going to be the same for one person than it is to another. It's going to be, everybody does it their own way. When Kanye West was known as just a music producer, he wanted to be a rapper and nobody took him seriously, so then he just had to just pay for his own stuff, and then he just hooked up with Jay-Z or whatever and put it out, and so then he became a rapper. But then he said he wanted to be a fashion designer. So now he's already a successful music producer. He's a successful rapper. He's got records all over the place. Now he wants to do a fashion design. What does he do? He goes to New York and he goes to Milan and he does internships at fashion houses. Work for free amongst people who know how things work so he could see how it's done.
Right.
And look where he is now.
That's
Yeah.
full circle, actually.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So how you are going to transition from one thing or another is going to be based on where, you know, where you're coming from, what presents itself to you at that time. Then you reach into your experience and say, well, what can I pull from my experience that's going to help me move into what I want to do today? And then everybody has to reinvent themselves. There's nobody who has, like, once you've made it, we're here. It's like,
yeah.
no, you're here and then boom, it goes down.
Yeah.
You gotta reinvent yourself. And it's like, it's always making a comeback, you know?
Yeah.
And the world changes. Everything changes. There was a time when we know at the time when you learn how to write songs and you figure, oh, once I write songs, I'll be getting royalty checks for the rest of my life. I'll just go to my mailbox and get my royalty checks. And then the internet happened.
Yep.
And it's like, you can write a song, but the idea of you writing a song thinking you're gonna buy a house and raise a family off of a song, like even 100 songs.
Yeah.
Back then, one song could do it. Now, you could write 1,000 songs, and it's not even gonna get you groceries at Vons.
Right.
Yeah.
0.00177.
Exactly, because people don't pay for music.
Right.
Most kids,
They
I
don't.
mean, people of this generation, they don't even understand the concept of paying for their music. It's like, oh,
It's all
music is
streaming.
free, you know.
Right.
And then the streaming, which you think you're paying for, that doesn't give the songwriter anything.
Nope.
So all the songwriters and all the people now, they got to be like on, you know, The Voice and be a judge to get money, or they got to put out like, you know, I guess merchandising, or you know, become like a Instagram what do you call it, an influencer.
Influencer, yeah.
Get money as, you know, sponsorships, but you just sitting there in your dark room while everybody else is out there playing and having a good time saying, I'm gonna work on this song because this song is gonna make, it's like those days are over, you know?
Yeah.
So when that happens, you gotta change too. If the world changes, and it always does, you gotta change. Everything we learn today, 30 or 40 years from now, could be obsolete.
Yep.
Then you gotta learn the new stuff again, you know?
Always
But,
learning.
George Lucas, when he wanted to make his Star Wars, they didn't have all these digital effects. He had to do some stuff, and then 20 years later, he said, well, I want to redo my old stuff, you know, with the new technology, so he did. You
Yeah.
know? But I'm just saying, old dogs have to learn new tricks, so there's no set thing.
We're out of time, guys, but I do want to close on this note. I know, I think both of us were almost probably the same age category. We didn't have the internet in like 1980. But you guys, I want to close on this. You guys have the internet. And that's just, you know, for me to think about that. You know, you guys have the globe at your fingertips, right? So I want to close on this. Will Smith said, just decide. And then from that point, the universe will get out of your way, all right? That being said, let's give our judges,
Oh.
I mean, not judges, let's give our panelists,
We're
because they were talking about a
judges.
show, TV show. Bruce and Angelina, let's give them a hand. And I want to thank you guys for coming out on this Black History event. Thank you.
Thank you all.